Commander Ethan Cole stood in the middle of the shining galactic embassy, surrounded by alien diplomats, humans in uniform, and thousands of flashing lights from cameras and drones. The air was heavy with tension, and Ethan could almost feel every eye watching him. He was a soldier, not a man made for ceremonies. Yet today he was about to marry his late brother's alien widow, a woman he barely knew. The galaxy called it a union of peace. Ethan called it punishment. His brother, Captain Aiden Cole, had died 6 months ago in the Xyrix War. Ethan had fought in the same battle, watched the ship explode, and carried his brother's body home himself. But now, to maintain peace between Earth and the Vithari Empire, Ethan was ordered by both governments to marry Princess Lyra Vethan, his brother's widow. It was a law among her people. If a royal husband died in war, the next of kin must take his place to preserve the bloodline treaty. Refusing meant breaking the fragile peace his brother had died to protect. Lyra stood before him in her ceremonial armor, silver-white with glowing blue veins running through the metal like living light. Her long hair floated slightly, moving with the faint pull of the gravity field inside the chamber. Her skin shimmered faintly and her eyes glowed silver, just like all Vithari. Ethan noticed her hands trembling slightly as she held the ceremonial ring of light. She didn't want this either. "You don't have to pretend," she said softly, her voice calm but distant. "This isn't what you wanted." Ethan's jaw tightened. "No, but I gave my word to keep the peace. My brother would have done the same. And yet your eyes tell me you hate me," she whispered. He didn't answer. Maybe she was right. Maybe he did hate her, not as a person, but as a reminder. A reminder that his brother was gone, and that Ethan's whole life had been reduced to political duty. The High Chancellor of the Alliance raised his hands. A wave of energy filled the room, forming a floating ring of light around the two of them. The ceremony began. Each word was translated into both human and Vithari tongues, echoing in perfect harmony. When the Chancellor asked for the final vow, Ethan hesitated for only a second before replying, "I accept the bond." Lyra's eyes flickered. Her people didn't cry, but their emotions showed as changes of color in the glow beneath their skin. Her light dimmed to a faint blue, the color of quiet sorrow. When the ring of light descended and linked their hands, a beam of silver shot upward. The crowd applauded politely. Cameras captured every angle. Ethan's throat felt tight. It was over. The marriage was official. After the ceremony, they were escorted to a private hall for the diplomatic reception. People congratulated them with fake smiles and empty words. Ethan kept his answers short, while Lyra stood perfectly still like a statue built for display. When the crowd finally left, only the two of them remained. Silence stretched between them. Outside, the stars shone through the transparent dome ceiling, reflecting off the floor like a sea of lights. "I don't expect kindness from you," Lyra said quietly, still not looking at him. "I just hope you'll treat me as someone who lost as much as you did." Her words made him stop. For a long moment, Ethan said nothing. Then he replied, his voice low and tired. "I didn't lose just my brother. I lost the only reason I stayed in the service. Now I'm tied to a stranger I don't even understand." Lyra turned then, her glowing eyes meeting his. "Perhaps we will both understand more than we wish." Later that night, Ethan sat alone in his new quarters aboard the diplomatic cruiser that would take them to the Vithari homeworld. He replayed his brother's last message again and again. It was a recording Aiden had sent before his death, encrypted, marked private, and never meant for anyone but family. The message was short, only a few seconds long, but the last words haunted Ethan. "If I don't make it back, tell them. The secret isn't what they think. The Vithari are hiding something, and if they make you take my place, don't refuse. Find it." Ethan leaned back, staring at the dark ceiling. The words "find it" echoed in his mind. What had Aiden discovered? Why had he sounded afraid? The door opened with a faint hiss and Lyra entered silently. She didn't speak for a moment, only stood there with her faintly glowing eyes. "The council expects us to arrive at the palace by morning," she said softly. Ethan nodded, not looking at her. "Fine." When she turned to leave, she paused. "You think I don't care that he died. But you're wrong. He was kind. He trusted me when no one else did." Her voice trembled slightly, almost human. Then she left. Ethan looked down at his hands. He was supposed to hate her, but something in her tone, something honest, cut through the walls he'd built. When he closed his eyes, he could still see his brother's face smiling, telling him to find it. Somewhere deep down, Ethan knew his marriage wasn't just political. It was the first step into something much bigger, something his brother had died for. And though he didn't yet understand it, the widow he had just married unwillingly might be the key to uncovering the truth behind everything. The morning light from the alien sun spread across the silver towers of the Vithari capital, turning the sky into shades of gold and violet. Commander Ethan Cole stood on the balcony of his assigned quarters, watching the strange beauty below. Hovering transports moved quietly through the air, and far in the distance the royal palace shone like a mountain of crystal. He had arrived only a few hours ago, yet he already felt trapped. Beside him, Princess Lyra Vethan walked silently. She wore a soft robe of silver threads that shimmered faintly. She looked calm, but her glowing eyes showed something else, an emptiness that matched his own. Since their marriage, she had spoken little, keeping her distance like someone guarding a secret. "The palace will expect us in an hour," she said quietly. Ethan gave a small nod. "I'll be ready." He hadn't slept much during the journey. His mind replayed his brother Aiden's message again and again. The warning about a secret, the request not to refuse the marriage, it all seemed connected to Lyra somehow. Ethan didn't trust easily, but the more he saw her, the more he realized she wasn't the cold royal he expected. There was pain in her silence, something deep and human in how she tried to hide it. The palace of Vithar was a wonder. Its halls were lined with glowing stones that shifted color when people passed. Giant statues of old Vithari heroes stood guard, and hovering servants floated between rooms with quiet grace. Ethan walked behind Lyra, his boots echoing softly against the smooth floor. When they reached the throne hall, the emperor himself sat waiting. His tall figure was draped in robes that shimmered like liquid metal, and his eyes burned with a deep golden light. The moment Ethan stepped forward, he could feel the man's power, cold, commanding, and heavy. "Human Commander Ethan Cole," the Emperor said in a slow, firm voice. "We welcome you as blood of Aiden Cole, who gave his life for peace." Ethan bowed slightly, keeping his voice steady. "I am honored to serve the treaty, Your Majesty." The Emperor's gaze lingered on him. "The bond between you and my daughter-in-law ensures stability. You will live in the West Wing. She will resume her duties as Keeper of Archives. You will accompany her when summoned. That is all." It sounded more like an order than hospitality. Ethan nodded again, hiding his thoughts. After the audience, Lyra led him to the archives. The chamber was massive, walls covered in glowing panels, data crystals stacked in tall columns. Strange floating machines hummed quietly, scanning symbols and ancient records. Lyra moved between them with ease, touching symbols that opened holographic files. Ethan stood by the door, studying her movements. She looked completely at home among the technology. "I used to come here with Aiden," she said suddenly, her voice soft. "He was curious about our history, about what came before the wars." Ethan stepped closer. "He mentioned that to me. He said your people were hiding something old." Her hands froze above the console. The faint light under her skin turned pale blue. "He told you that?" "He left a message before he died. Said if they made me take his place, I should find it." For a moment she looked at him like she wanted to speak but couldn't. Then she turned away. "Some truths are buried for a reason," Ethan crossed his arms. "And some are buried to protect the guilty." She faced him, her silver eyes glowing faintly brighter. "You think you understand, but you don't. My people have lived for centuries on lies. If you dig too deep, they'll come for you like they came for him." The silence between them grew heavy. Ethan's instincts told him she wasn't lying. Before he could ask more, a sound came from the corridor outside. A faint hum, like static energy. Lyra's expression changed instantly. She grabbed his arm and pulled him behind one of the pillars. A small hovering orb floated past the door, its lens scanning the room. It wasn't one of the palace drones Ethan had seen before. It carried a symbol he didn't recognize. When it vanished, Lyra finally released his arm. "They're watching us," she whispered. "Since the moment we arrived." Ethan frowned. "Who?" "Not the Emperor, someone else." He looked around the archive again. "Then you should tell me what you're really looking for." She hesitated, then walked to a large table where several crystals lay. She placed her hand over one, and a faint human code appeared in the air, digital text mixed with alien script. Ethan's eyes widened. That's human language. Old Terran code, Lyra nodded. Your brother found this in our records. He said it didn't belong here. It led him to something he called the Vault of Valon. Ethan remembered the name. It was a myth in human military files, an ancient vault said to contain lost pre-war technology. He died before he could tell me what it was. Lyra lowered her head. He died because of it. The room darkened slightly as if the palace itself had sensed her words. Ethan stepped closer, his voice low. If that's true, then we're both in danger. She looked up at him, her expression unreadable. That danger has already started. At that moment, the ground trembled slightly and a distant explosion echoed through the city. The glowing lights flickered and alarms began to sound. Lyra's pulse light flared bright silver. They found us, she whispered. Ethan reached for the plasma pistol at his belt, his soldier instincts returning in an instant. Then we run. Outside, through the high window, he could see ships rising from the lower city, dark, unmarked crafts moving toward the palace. Whoever they weren't coming for peace. As Lyra led him through a side passage, Ethan's thoughts raced. His brother's death, the message, the vault, all of it was connected. And the woman he had married unwillingly was now the only person who could help him survive long enough to uncover the truth. He glanced at her as they ran. She was fast, determined, her light flickering between silver and blue. For the first time, Ethan realized she wasn't just a royal widow trapped by politics. She was someone fighting a silent war of her own. And now he was part of it. The sound of explosions shook the palace halls as Commander Ethan Cole and Lyra ran through the narrow corridors. The walls, once glowing with calm silver light, now flickered red under the alarm system. Guards shouted orders in both human and Vathari languages, and the deep rumble of ships echoed above the capital. Ethan's heart pounded. He had been in battlefields before, but this was different. This was an ambush inside the very heart of an empire. He gripped his plasma pistol tightly while scanning each turn ahead. Lyra stayed close, her robe torn at the shoulder, her glowing skin dim with fear and exhaustion. They're not palace guards, Ethan said, as another blast shook dust from the ceiling. Their weapons are military grade. Who are they? Mercenaries, Lyra replied, breathing fast. The same ones who killed your brother. They serve no flag, only whoever pays the most. Her words hit him like a punch. You're saying someone hired them to kill Aiden? Yes, and now they're here for us. They reached a metal gate at the end of the hall. Lyra placed her hand against a glowing panel and the door slid open with a hiss. Behind it was a passage leading downward, a maintenance tunnel lined with old pipes and flickering lights. Down here, she said. It connects to the lower city. Ethan followed without question. The tunnel was narrow, barely wide enough for two people. As they moved, he noticed scorch marks along the walls. Someone had used this path before, someone running from the same danger. After several minutes, they reached a fork. Lyra hesitated, unsure which way to go. Suddenly, a flash of blue light filled the tunnel. Ethan grabbed her and pulled her behind a metal column just as a plasma bolt struck the wall where she had been standing. 3 armored soldiers appeared, their visors black and symbols painted over. They were moving fast, using human weapons mixed with alien tech. Ethan didn't wait. He rolled out, fired twice, and hit one in the chest. The armor cracked and the man dropped instantly. The others opened fire and sparks flew as energy bolts struck the pipes. "Stay behind me," he shouted. Lyra lifted her hand and a shield of faint energy shimmered before them. The remaining mercenaries fired, but the shots bounced off the barrier. Her control faltered under the pressure, and Ethan saw pain on her face. He returned fire, aiming for their visors, and the corridor filled with smoke and heat. When the last attacker fell, the tunnel went quiet again, except for the crackle of damaged circuits. Lyra dropped to one knee, her breathing unsteady. "You're hurt," Ethan said, kneeling beside her. "I'll be fine," she whispered, her light flickering weakly. "We have to keep moving before reinforcements come." He nodded and helped her to her feet. They walked until they reached a large underground chamber filled with old machinery and strange glowing panels. Ethan scanned the area, his instincts sharp. "This looks like a power station." "It's older than that," Lyra said, touching one of the panels. "These tunnels are from before the Empire was built. My ancestors used them to hide their experiments." Ethan frowned. "Experiments?" She looked up at him. The Vault of Valon wasn't just a myth. It was real. It held the first technology that connected our worlds. Your brother found proof, and he tried to bring it to light. That's why they silenced him. Ethan felt his jaw tighten. And you've been trying to find it again? Lyra nodded slowly. I promised him I would finish what he started. Before Ethan could respond, a new sound came. A deep metallic rumble like engines powering up. The ground beneath them trembled. From a dark tunnel ahead, a massive drone floated into view, armed with twin cannons. Its sensors locked onto them instantly. Move! Ethan shouted. They dove behind a console as the drone fired, the blast tearing through the walls. Sparks and debris rained down. Ethan returned fire, but his pistol barely dented its armor. The machine advanced, relentless. Lyra pressed her hands together, forming a sphere of glowing light. Get down! She cried. A wave of energy burst from her palms, slamming into the drone. It staggered back, its system sparking wildly before crashing into the tunnel wall. The explosion shook the entire chamber. Ethan looked at her wide-eyed. You could do that all this time? She smiled weakly. Not without cost. Her hands trembled and the light beneath her skin dimmed again. That was my last reserve. He caught her before she could fall. Then we need to get out of here before anyone else shows up. They moved through a broken gate that led to a surface lift. As they rose, the city above came into view through cracks in the platform. Smoke covered the skyline. Patrol ships flew in tight circles, scanning the streets. The palace behind them was burning. When they finally reached ground level, they slipped into the shadow of an abandoned market. The people had already fled. Only silence and the faint hum of distant engines remained. Ethan guided Lyra toward an old transport parked behind a ruined wall. Can you fly this thing? He asked. I can, she said. But once we lift off, they'll track us. Let them, Ethan replied. We're not staying to die. As the engine started, Lyra looked at him seriously. If we do this, there's no turning back. The Empire will name us traitors. Ethan met her gaze, his voice calm but firm. Then we'll find the truth first before they find us. The transport lifted off, vanishing into the smoke-filled sky. Behind them, the Vithari Palace continued to burn, and the stars above were dimmed by fire. Ethan knew that from this moment on, nothing could return to how it was. His brother's death, the forced marriage, the buried secret, all of it was leading him toward something greater. As the ship entered the upper atmosphere, Lyra sat beside him, her faint light steady once more. He believed you would come, she said softly. Your brother. He said only you could finish what he started. We need to get to the lower mountains, she said. There's an old relay station there. It's hidden, connected to the Vault of Velon. If we can reach it, we can trace the location of the core. Ethan nodded, his mind racing. He had only known war and orders, yet here he was, racing through alien skies, chasing a myth that might hold the power of two civilizations. And if we're caught before we reach it? He asked. They won't catch us, Lyra said, her voice firm, but her pulse light flickered red for a moment, an emotion humans might call fear. Not if we move carefully, but if we fail, everyone will believe your brother was wrong to trust me, and they'll kill anyone who follows the trail. Ethan swallowed hard. He realized then how fragile this mission truly was. His brother had died seeking this truth, and now he and Lyra were carrying the burden together. The transport descended into a canyon filled with jagged cliffs. Shadows stretched across the ground as the sun dipped lower. Lyra guided the ship into a hidden tunnel behind a waterfall, a secret entrance to the mountains. Ethan could see the faint glow of ancient structures carved into the stone walls. This is it, Lyra said. The relay station. They landed and quickly exited the transport, keeping low. The station was old, covered in vines and moss, but the technology inside still hummed with life. Holographic panels lit up as Lyra touched them, revealing layers of alien data mixed with human code. Ethan felt a familiar thrill, the same that came before a battlefield when strategy and skill determined survival. Your brother found the first clue here, Lyra said, her hand hovering over a crystal panel. He realized the Vithari Empire didn't invent all their technology. Some of it came from humans long ago. He called it a fusion of knowledge, ancient Earth tech hidden in our oldest vaults. Ethan looked at her, mind sharp. Then the Vault of Velon is more than a legend. It's real, she nodded. And if we can access it, we might control or protect its secrets. That's why they wanted to stop him. And why they'll want to stop us. Suddenly, a low vibration shook the floor. The mountains rumbled. Ethan's hand went to his sidearm. What now? Before Lyra could answer, the main door burst open. Soldiers poured in, armed and armored, their visors glowing red. Unmarked insignias covered their suits. Ethan fired first, taking down 2 attackers before they could aim properly. Lyra raised her hands, forming a shield that rippled with silvery light, deflecting bolts of energy. "Keep moving toward the control core," she shouted. They ran through the narrow halls of the station, past machinery that hummed with alien energy. Sparks flew as Ethan returned fire, covering their retreat. Lyra guided him through side corridors he would never have found without her. Finally, they reached a large chamber, a hollowed-out space filled with floating crystals, cables, and an enormous glowing cube suspended above a pedestal. Ethan stopped, his breath catching. "That's it," Lyra said. "The core. The vault of Valon's heart." He studied it. The cube pulsed with energy, casting shifting lights across the walls. It was alive in a way he had never seen. Technology and power intertwined. "Your brother, he found this?" Lyra nodded. Yes, he realized its potential. The energy inside can power ships, weapons, even cities. If used wisely, it could unify worlds. If used wrongly, it could destroy them. Ethan felt the weight of responsibility. Then we can't let anyone else touch it. Not the Emperor, not the mercenaries, not anyone who wants to use it for war. Lyra's eyes glowed brighter. Exactly, and that's why we need to secure it ourselves. Only together can we protect it. Ethan reached for the cube carefully. The moment he touched it, a holographic projection appeared, a recording of Aiden, his brother. The familiar face flickered to life, smiling faintly. "If you are seeing this," Aiden's voice said, calm but urgent, "then it means you survived. The Vault of Valon is more than a weapon. It is knowledge. Knowledge of the past, power for the future. Protect it. Use it only to unite, never to conquer. Trust Lyra. Together you can finish what I started." Ethan lowered his hand, heart racing. He turned to Lyra. He believed in us. In both of us. Lyra nodded, her pulse light steady now, glowing silver once again. "Then we begin. We have to unlock the full system, see who is still coming for it, and ensure no one can misuse this power." Just then, a warning light flashed across the chamber. Sensors detected multiple approaching crafts from the capital. The Emperor's fleet and unmarked human ships were converging on their position. Ethan took a deep breath. "They're not stopping, but neither are we." Lyra stepped beside him, her hands on the cube. "This is our chance. If we succeed, we can control the future. If we fail..." Ethan didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. The stakes were clear. He glanced at her, then at the glowing cube. For the first time since his brother's death, he felt a spark of hope. "Then we don't fail," he said, voice firm. The chamber filled with light as they activated the vault. Energy surged, filling the room, intertwining human and Vithari systems. Outside, the approaching fleets halted, frozen in place as if time itself had stopped. The vault had reached beyond the mountains, beyond the stars, asserting control over every system in the area. Lyra nodded, her eyes glowing silver with intensity. If it falls into the wrong hands, it could destroy entire cities, entire fleets. But if used wisely, it could unify worlds, give peace a real chance. Ethan swallowed. "Then we have to be careful. One mistake and it's over for everyone." The silence of the chamber was broken by a distant rumble, the sound of ships moving through the canyon above. Ethan crouched behind a stack of old machinery, scanning the tunnels with his pistol ready. Lyra moved beside him, her hand still hovering near the cube. "They're closing in," she whispered. "The Emperor won't give up so easily. And there are human mercenaries coming too. They want the vault for themselves." Ethan clenched his jaw. "Then we make sure they don't get it." They moved together toward a side exit, the tunnels narrowing as they descended deeper into the mountains. Each step echoed loudly against the stone, and every shadow seemed to hide a potential threat. Lyra glanced at him, her pulse light flickering a faint red. Ethan realized she was exhausted, but she refused to show weakness. "Your brother," Ethan said quietly, breaking the silence. "He trusted you to finish this." "I'm glad he did. I'd rather have you here than anyone else." Lyra's glow brightened slightly, though her expression remained serious. "And I'm glad you're here, Ethan. Alone I couldn't do this. Together we stand a chance." They reached a junction where 3 tunnels met. Lyra placed her hand on a crystal embedded in the wall. It hummed in response, and a hidden door slid open to reveal a chamber filled with dormant machinery, control panels, and holographic displays. Ethan's eyes widened. "This is it," Lyra said. "The core control for the vault. Everything we need is here." Ethan approached the panels, studying the alien symbols. Some of it was familiar, the human code his brother had worked on, but most was advanced Vithari technology. "It's incredible," he said. "Your brother wasn't exaggerating. This isn't just power. This is knowledge, history, and technology combined." Lyra nodded. "And it's dangerous. One wrong input could trigger defensive systems that could destroy the entire mountain." Ethan exhaled slowly. "Then we do this carefully, step by step." They worked together, Lyra guiding the alien systems, Ethan inputting sequences based on the human codes his brother had left behind. Slowly the cube began to glow brighter, energy flowing into the control panels. The room vibrated slightly as the vault came online, its power spreading through the tunnels. Suddenly, the door behind them burst open. Mercenaries poured in, weapons raised, their red visors scanning the room. Ethan fired first, taking down one attacker while Lyra raised her shield to deflect energy blasts. Sparks flew as bolts of plasma struck the walls and machinery. "Keep the core safe," Lyra shouted. "It's the only way." Ethan moved with precision, covering her while she worked on stabilizing the vault. He ducked and fired, each shot taking down an attacker or disabling their equipment. Lyra's shields flickered with strain, but she never stopped. One of the mercenaries tried to grab her, but Ethan lunged, knocking him to the ground. Lyra spun, her hands forming a sphere of energy that pushed the remaining attackers back. The chamber shook as the cube's energy expanded, enveloping the room in a protective barrier. "They can't touch it now," she said, her voice steady despite the danger. "The vault will protect itself." Ethan looked around, heart racing. "We need to move it. Get it out of the mountain before they regroup." Lyra nodded. Using the controls, she activated a transport system connected to the cube. Slowly, the vault began to levitate, its energy stabilizing into a compact form that could be moved safely. The hum of power filled the chamber, vibrating through Ethan's bones. As they prepared to leave, a new sound reached them, a deep rumble followed by the crash of heavy doors opening. More mercenaries, and this time, fully armed Vithari guards loyal to the Emperor, flooded the chamber. Ethan and Lyra exchanged a glance, determination reflected in their glowing eyes. "We do this together," Ethan said. "Always," Lyra replied. They moved with synchronized precision, Ethan covering Lyra while she guided the vault. Energy shields blocked attacks, and careful movements kept them ahead of their pursuers. Step by step, they reached the exit, the cube hovering safely between them. Outside, the mountain air was crisp and the sky stretched wide above them. Patrol ships hovered at a distance, scanning the canyon, but the vault's energy disrupted their sensors, keeping Ethan and Lyra hidden. For the first time, Ethan allowed himself to breathe. They had survived the ambush, activated the vault, and secured the core, at least for now. Lyra looked at him, her pulse light steady, silver shining softly. "Yo, do you think we can make it to the hidden valley?" Ethan asked, his voice low, though his eyes constantly scanned the cliffs above. Lyra's pulse light flickered a faint blue as she checked the energy shields around the cube. "If we move quickly and stay under the radar, yes. The valley is shielded naturally, and the old tunnels there are unknown even to the Emperor, but we have to be smart. One mistake and they'll find us," Ethan nodded. He tightened his grip on the cube's field controller, feeling the weight of both the technology and the responsibility. "We've survived this far. We won't stop now." The climb was treacherous. Loose rocks shifted under their boots and the wind howled through the mountain peaks. Lyra led the way, her glowing eyes lighting the path. Ethan followed, scanning every ledge, every shadow. He realized that in all his years of combat, he had never faced a threat like this, an enemy that could strike from the sky, from the shadows, and from inside the political system itself. After hours of careful movement, they reached the mouth of an ancient cavern. The entrance was nearly invisible, hidden behind hanging vines and jagged rocks. Lyra stepped forward and placed her hand against a panel etched into the stone. It glowed in response, revealing a hidden doorway leading into the mountainside. "This is it," she whispered. "The old sanctuary. It connects directly to the heart of the vault." Ethan stepped inside, his eyes adjusting to the dim light. The cavern was enormous, carved long before either human or Vithari memory. Strange machinery hummed quietly, almost as if it were waiting for them. The walls were lined with crystalline conduits that pulsed with soft light, and the floor seemed to vibrate faintly under the cube's energy. "We should stabilize the core here," Lyra said. "It's the safest place for now, and it will allow us to access the full system without interference." Ethan helped guide the cube onto a raised platform, its energy flowing into the conduits. The room came alive with light, showing holographic images of star systems, alien cities, and fleets. Ancient Vithari text intertwined with human code, revealing a history both civilizations had forgotten or deliberately hidden. As the vault came online fully, Ethan saw a familiar projection flicker to life. It was his brother Aiden recorded long ago. "If you are watching this, it means you survived," Aiden's calm voice echoed through the cavern. "The Vault of Velon is not a weapon, it is knowledge. It holds the power to unite or destroy. Protect it and use it only to bring peace. Trust Lyra. Together you can finish what I began." Ethan's chest tightened. His brother had believed in them both. "We will," he whispered. But even as he said it, sensors around the sanctuary blinked red. Lyra frowned, checking the readings. "They're here," she said. "The Emperor's fleet is approaching the mountains. They've detected the vault's energy signature." Ethan stood ready. "Then we prepare. We won't let them take it." Lyra activated protective shields around the cube. The energy flared, creating a barrier that shimmered in the cavern. Outside, in the skies above the mountains, ships slowed as the vault's energy disrupted their systems. Weapons powered down, navigation scrambled. They couldn't fire, couldn't move closer. "They can't touch us now," Lyra said, relief flickering in her eyes. "But this won't last forever. They'll find a way, Ninge everything," Lyra nodded. "And that's why they want it. Not for peace, but for power. Whoever controls this will control the galaxy." Ethan's gaze hardened. "Then we have to make sure it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. Not the Emperor, not the mercenaries, no one." Lyra's pulse light brightened silver, steady and determined. "Together we can protect it. And maybe, just maybe, we can use it to end the wars between our worlds." Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then let's do it. For Aiden. For everyone who died because of this secret." Outside, the mountain winds howled, carrying the distant sounds of approaching ships. Inside the sanctuary, the vault pulsed, alive with knowledge and energy, waiting for the right hands to guide it. Ethan looked at Lyra and knew that, unwilling marriage or not, she was now his partner in something far greater than either of them had imagined. The future of two civilizations rested on their courage, their choices, and the truth hidden within the Vault of Velon. And for the first time, Ethan felt a spark of hope that they could succeed, not just for themselves, but for the galaxy. The hidden sanctuary was quiet except for the soft hum of the Vault of Velon. Ethan and Lyra stood side by side, watching the cube pulse with life. The energy from the core flowed through the ancient conduits, illuminating the cavern in silver and blue light. For hours they had stabilized the system, mapping star charts, fleets, and secret bases across the galaxy. The vault was alive, but so were the dangers. "We've done what we can for now," Ethan said, his voice steady. "But they'll come back. The Emperor won't give up, and those mercenaries won't stop until they have it." Lyra nodded. "Yes, but the vault is protected while we are here. Its energy disrupts any outside interference. They can't touch it, not yet." Ethan studied the cube, thinking of his brother's warning. Aiden had believed in this place, in its power, and in the responsibility it carried. Ethan realized the weight of it now. Not gold, not treasures, but a force that could unite or destroy entire civilizations. Suddenly, a warning light flickered across the control panels. Sensors detected movement in the valley below. Ethan moved quickly to the edge of the cavern and looked out through the narrow opening. Ships hovered in the air, human and Vithari alike, scanning, waiting, cautious. They had detected the vault. "They've found us," Lyra said softly, though her pulse light remained calm. "We have to decide how to act." Ethan turned to her, his gaze steady. "We don't give it to them. Not the Emperor, not anyone else. We control it, and we use it to end the conflict, to stop the fighting before it spreads further." Lyra's hands hovered over the cube. "It's risky. The vault can project energy, disrupt fleets, even disable weapons across long distances. But it cannot enforce peace, it only gives us the power to make a choice." Ethan stepped closer. "Then we make that choice, together." She looked at him, her glowing eyes steady. "Together." Using the control panels, Lyra activated the vault's systems. A surge of energy flowed outward, connecting with hidden networks across the galaxy. The approaching ships slowed, their systems flickering as the vault's energy scrambled communications and navigation. Bolts of plasma weapons powered down in midair. The fleets were immobilized, unable to advance. Ethan felt the vibration through the floor and realized the vault's energy extended far beyond the mountains. They could reach the capitals of multiple systems, even planets far away. Whoever controlled the vault now had the power to protect civilizations or enforce their will. "Look at this," Lyra said, pointing to a holographic map. "We can see every fleet, every base, every secret outpost. We can stop wars before they begin, prevent attacks before they happen." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Then we have to do it right. Not for ourselves, not for revenge, but for everyone who cannot protect themselves." Lyra nodded. "Yes, your brother believed we could do it. And now it's our turn." They worked together, synchronizing human codes with Vithari technology. The vault responded to their combined input, stabilizing completely. Energy flowed smoothly, its light no longer flickering. It was ready. Outside, the ships remained frozen in midair, powerless. Fleet commanders communicated in confused bursts, unable to make decisions. Ethan realized that for the first time, someone had the ability to enforce a moment of peace across the galaxy. "We can't keep it here forever," Ethan said. "Eventually someone will try to bypass the system. We need a plan." Lyra considered this. "We take it to a neutral location, somewhere no one expects, somewhere only we can access. Then we use it to bring the leaders together, force them to negotiate instead of fight." Ethan nodded. "A summit with the vault as leverage. Peace by knowledge, not by force." They watched the fleet slowly retreat, unable to act. Communication channels flickered back on, but all attempts to attack were neutralized by the vault's protective systems. "This is it," Lyra said. "We have a chance to change everything." Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. "We do it for Aiden, for all the lives lost, for everyone who believed peace was possible. And we do it together." Lyra's pulse light glowed steady silver. "Then let's finish what he started." They activated the vault's final sequence, linking it to hidden communications across the galaxy. Leaders from human and Vithari systems received transmissions showing the truth, the vault's power, its potential, and the proof that past conflicts had been manipulated by those seeking control. The message was clear. The galaxy could continue as it was, ruled by war and fear, or it could change. And for the first time, the choice was forced upon everyone at once. Ethan and Lyra stood side by side, watching the holographic displays. They had taken control of the vault, secured its power, and ensured it could be used only to unite, not destroy. "This is the fortune your brother spoke of," Lyra said softly, her light reflecting on the cube. "Not gold, not wealth, but the chance to save countless lives." Ethan smiled faintly. "I never thought marriage would lead to something like this. Unwilling or not, I'm glad we did this together." She looked at him, her expression softening. "Neither did I. And now we carry the responsibility not just for ourselves, but for everyone in the galaxy." Outside, the stars stretched endlessly. The vault pulsed quietly, a beacon of knowledge and power. Ethan realized that the past, the wars, and the loss of his brother had all led to this moment. And as long as they stood together, no empire, no mercenary, no tyrant could take it from them. The future of two civilizations now rested in the hands of a human and an alien, united by choice, trust, and courage. And for the first time in centuries, hope shone brighter than fear.